Life was beautiful and unforgiving in a small African village called Ogbudu. Nestled between wide stretches of farmland and dusty roads, Ogbudu was where everyone knew each other's lives like the back of their hand. In this close-knit community, there lived a young woman named Ada. Ada was a girl of dreams. She wasn't the person who complained about her hardships. She kept her head high, even when life gave her little reason to. At just 16, she had experienced struggles that many would never know. Born into poverty, she had been raised by her mother, Mama Ada, a humble market vendor who sold vegetables to make a living. Ada's father had passed away when she was young, leaving Mama Ada to fend for both of them. Mama Ada was her daughter's biggest champion. Though their lives were filled with hardship, she always reminded Ada of the power of education. She would say, holding her hand as they sat outside their tiny house at night, watching the stars,
"Ada, knowledge is power. My time has passed, and any hope of us escaping this cycle of poverty is dependent on how seriously you take your education."
Ada clung to these words. She believed that education and hard work were her way out, the path that would lead her and her mother out of their difficult life. So she worked tirelessly in her studies and training to become a hairstylist and did little jobs she could find to make extra money. She would make the hair of her classmates and their relatives, wash clothes for neighbors, clean houses, and even sell small items at the market when she could. Anything to help her mother and to pay for her education. But as much as she tried, the struggles were relentless. Some nights, as she lay on her thin mattress, exhaustion and doubt would cloud her mind. She felt the burden of poverty as she saw how the families of some of the girls in the village took good care of them without them struggling so much. The dreams of her mother and the silent expectations of some family members who looked up to her as the girl who would make it. One Sunday, during a church service, Pastor Emmanuel noticed her. He was a well-known figure in Ogbudu, a well-respected pastor with influence, affluence, and charisma. Always dressed smartly in fine clothes, he commanded attention and made people feel important, if only for a moment. After the service, he approached Ada as she stood outside with her mother. With a warm smile, he said,
"Ada, I have seen how dedicated you are. You have something special in you, child. A light, a drive. I believe you have a future beyond this village. The Lord has blessed me, and I want to help young people like you reach their potential. I can help you with your school fees, maybe even help you apply to a better school in the city."
Ada felt a strange sense of excitement mixed with caution. The pastor was revered, and his words carried weight. He continued, his voice filled with assurance. The thought of leaving Ogbudu to study in a real school without struggling for fees felt like a dream. Her mother was grateful and saw Pastor Emmanuel as a blessing. She encouraged Ada to accept his offer, seeing it as an answer to her prayers. She whispered to her later that night,
"You see, Ada, God has sent someone to lift us out of this struggle. You must work hard and make Pastor Emmanuel proud. He sees something in you that most people do not see."
At first, Ada was overwhelmed with gratitude. Pastor Emmanuel helped her with school fees, got them better accommodation, and provided her with supplies. He often invited her to the church to pray for her future. It seemed like he truly wanted to help. However, as time passed, she began to notice his behavior changing. Pastor Emmanuel would call her to come to the church after dark, saying he had special prayers for her. She felt uncomfortable, but he would remind her of his intentions to ensure she had a bright future and how this was just to make her spiritually sound. He would say calmly but insistent,
"Ada, you must understand, not everyone gets an opportunity like this. I am here to guide you, to help you rise, but you must trust me fully. Trust is everything.
He spoke confidently and genuinely, which settled her, and she convinced herself she was simply overthinking it. After all, everyone in the village admired the pastor, and he had done nothing but provide for her. Over time, Pastor Emmanuel became more controlling, questioning who she spent time with, her daily routine, and even what she wore. His words became more manipulative, making her feel indebted to him in a way that trapped her. He once said to her,
Ada, you have achieved a lot because of my generosity, but we still have a long way to go, and we must work together closely if we hope to achieve our goal.
Her heart began to feel heavy with guilt and confusion. She could not talk to her mother about these feelings. Mama Ada believed the pastor was a miracle, and Ada did not want to disappoint her mother or seem ungrateful for the opportunity she had been given. As time passed, her connection to the pastor made her a subject of admiration and gossip in the village. People whispered that she would be the one to escape poverty and bring pride to her family. But the praise felt like a crushing weight on her shoulders. At school, Ada struggled with her studies, her mind constantly occupied by the pressure from home, the expectations from her family, and the subtle but stifling influence of Pastor Emmanuel. One night, after a particularly long prayer session, she returned home feeling drained and defeated. Her mother noticed her exhaustion. Holding her hands, her mother said,
Ada, my child, I am sorry you have to go through this suffering. I am sorry I can't make it easier, but I thank the Lord who brought Pastor Emmanuel our way. That is why you have to do everything to make him proud. Remember that I have placed all my hopes in you. You are the one who will bring us honor and a better life.
These words, meant to inspire, only deepened her sense of hopelessness. She wanted nothing more than to live up to her mother's expectations, but with every passing day, she felt her strength fading. She began to feel isolated, as though no one could understand her pain. The burden of her mother's hopes, the pressure to succeed, and the pastor's suffocating control felt like weights on her shoulders. As time went on, Ada found herself sinking deeper into despair. The pastor's control became more suffocating, his words more manipulative. He began reminding her that her success was owed to him and that she had a duty to him. She felt alone and powerless, and a darkness began to creep into her heart. How can I escape this? She wondered late one night, staring at the walls of her room. Is this my life now? Soon, these thoughts grew darker. She began to feel that she had no way out, that her life was a cage, with no key to freedom. She thought about ending her pain permanently, if only to escape the unrelenting grip of her struggles. Ada, you must be strong, she whispered to herself, though her heart felt as if it was shattering with every passing day. As Pastor Emmanuel's involvement in her life grew, Ada felt more uncomfortable and guilty. He would ask her to wait after church gatherings, offering to pray for her success privately. Though hesitant, Ada was afraid to say no. After all, this was the man helping her through school, who could make her dreams come true. But over time, his actions became more alarming. The way he would touch her arm or shoulder in very intimate ways became more compulsive, complimented her appearance excessively, and spoke to her in private under the guise of spiritual guidance. One evening, during a prayer session at the church, Pastor Emmanuel took things further. He closed the doors to his office and drew the curtains, his demeanor growing darker as he spoke.
Ada, you grow more beautiful every day, a rare kind of beauty that only God could create. You know that I can help you achieve greatness.
Ada froze, feeling a chill in the air. Thank you, Pastor. But isn't that what you are already doing? Helping me with school? He moved closer, his eyes predatory.
There is much more I could do for you, Ada. Much more if only you would trust me completely. What we have is special. You don't need to worry about what people think. I am the one God has sent to elevate you.
She felt the weight of his words tighten its grip around her heart, like chains around her. But, Pastor, you have a family. I am feeling guilty about what we have been doing. This is not right, and it is not fair to your family. Besides, you are supposed to be my mentor, and I should be learning from you, sir. Pastor Emmanuel's face darkened as he leaned closer.
Ada, if you want me to continue helping you, you must understand that this is how things are done. Do you know people would give anything to be in your place? Don't question my intentions, and don't test me.
His words terrified her, but she felt powerless. How could she reject the man who controlled her education, the man paying her rent, the man everyone respected? She left that night with a growing fear in her heart. As weeks passed, Pastor Emmanuel's hold over her deepened. He sent her messages and called her for late-night prayer meetings daily. He also insinuated that without her cooperation, his support could end. At home, her mother was blissfully unaware of Ada's suffering. Mama Ada often praised the pastor, calling him a blessing for their family.
Ada, remember to thank Pastor Emmanuel. Without him, none of this would be possible. One day, you will rise above this hardship, and we will both be free of poverty.
Ada could only nod, crushed by the burden of her mother's hopes and her hidden shame. She wanted to tell her mother the truth. But how could she? Her mother adored the pastor and believed in him wholeheartedly. She lay in her bed at night feeling a sense of despair creeping over her. She felt helplessly bound to someone who claimed to be her mentor, but saw her as something else entirely. Soon, the pastor's intentions became obsessive. He pressured her relentlessly, making her feel as though she was nothing more than a tool for his satisfaction. The weight of this manipulation was unbearable. The man she had once seen as a mentor now haunted her nightmares. Her school performance declined further. Her friends noticed her withdrawn nature, the dark circles under her eyes, and the way she avoided eye contact and refused to discuss her private life. But every time someone asked if she was okay, she forced a smile and said, "I'm just tired from studying." One day, during one of her meetings with the pastor, he became more forceful, his tone changing from gentle guidance to sinister.
Ada, why are you acting so distant? Do you not remember all I have done for you? You owe me. If you refuse me, you are ungrateful, and God does not bless those who are ungrateful.
His words left her feeling violated, powerless, and hopeless. She wanted to scream, to run, but she knew that any attempt to escape would lead to ruin. The pastor controlled her access to education and paid her rent, and if she tried to reveal the truth, he would ruin her reputation, leaving her with nothing. Ada's hope of confiding in someone who could protect her had slowly faded. Despite her fear and shame, she was met with resistance and disbelief when she reached out. Weeks earlier, she had told her aunt, Auntie Amma, a well-educated woman known to speak her mind and hold strong values. Ada had hoped her aunt would see through Pastor Emmanuel and understand her pain. Instead, she was met with anger and judgment when she told her about the pastor's advances.
Ada, how dare you say such things about a man of God? You must be out of your mind, or looking for excuses to disgrace our family.
Ada had sat in stunned silence, her heart shattering with each word. She never expected this reaction from her aunt, who had always championed her education and spoken boldly about integrity. Whispering, she said, "Auntie, I swear I'm telling the truth. He has taken advantage of me, and I don't know what to do." But her aunt had refused to listen.
Enough. Pastor Emmanuel has done more for this family than anyone else. Why are you so ungrateful and shameless? What is wrong with you? Don't you dare try to taint his reputation with lies. What do you gain from this? Shame on you, Ada.
After that, Ada realized she had no one to turn to. Even the one person who could have helped her didn't believe her, casting her away with harsh words. She felt trapped in a nightmare, with no way out. It was as though her life was spiraling out of her control, and her desperate attempts to escape only pushed her further into darkness. Each day felt darker, her heart heavier. She felt ashamed, believing that she was to blame for the situation. This shame turned into silence, and silence into despair. As time wore on, Ada could no longer hold herself together. She saw no way out, no path forward that didn't involve more pain and more suffering. She began thinking about ending her life, believing it was the only way to escape the pastor's control. In her darkest hour, she penned a letter to her mother, tears smudging the ink as she wrote her final words. "Mama, I am so sorry. I tried my best. I truly did. I wanted to make you proud, to be the daughter you believed I could be. But I am not strong enough. I cannot live like this, carrying the weight of someone else's darkness. Forgive me." Late that night, she walked to the edge of the village, where the river ran deep and fast. She closed her eyes, letting the sound of the rushing water drown out the last of her fears. The next morning, a villager found her body. Mama Ada collapsed in grief, unable to understand why her bright, determined daughter would take such a drastic step. The pastor led the mourning, casting himself as a figure of sympathy, while hiding the truth of his manipulation. A few days later, Mama Ada found the letter Ada left, and she wept bitterly and felt guilty for her death. She wished her daughter confided in her about her struggles. Confused and helpless, she reached out to Amma. When she read Ada's words, her face went pale. A memory she had long buried rose to the surface. A memory of Pastor Emmanuel taking advantage of her when she was just around Ada's age. She had never spoken of it, suppressing the pain and shame, allowing the pastor's influence to control her life even as she grew older. He had woven himself into her mind so deeply that she had convinced herself it was her fault, or that it hadn't happened. But now, reading Ada's letter, she knew the truth. Overcome with guilt, Auntie Ada revealed her painful story. She confessed to her sister, Mama Ada, that Pastor Emmanuel had used his power over her years ago, and that she had dismissed Ada's cries for help, not out of malice, but because of her unresolved pain and fear. At that moment, she realized that Pastor Emmanuel had never stopped preying on vulnerable young women, manipulating and controlling them in ways that left them helpless and broken. And this time, her silence had contributed to the loss of her niece.
Oh, Mama Ada, I am so sorry. I failed you. I failed Ada and I failed myself.
The rumor began to spread. Whispers of the pastor's involvement, his control over Ada, and his private meetings with young women in the community. A few brave villagers came forward, sharing stories of how he had manipulated others, revealing a darker truth about the man the community had trusted. Ada's death became a rallying cry. Her story spread as a warning about the dangers of manipulation and the importance of speaking up. Heartbroken but determined, Mama Ada and Auntie Amma began advocating for awareness and change in the village, telling Ada's story in hopes of saving others. This story serves as a tragic but powerful reminder of the importance of breaking the silence, protecting the vulnerable, and ensuring that support is available to those in need.